You're listening to Making Money Online with Lisa Johnson, the podcast that tells you what it really takes to build a business and the simple steps to get you there. I'm determined to share with you the reality of easy, simple business marketing tips to make passive income so that you can start making money online. Making Money Online is sponsored by Nicola J. Rowley PR, helping entrepreneurs and brands get visible through strategic storytelling. If you're serious about being seen and impacting the lives of others, harnessing the power of PR is the best way to grow and scale your business. Visit njrpr.com for more details and read Nicola's best-selling book, The Power of PR. Hello, and welcome to this week's podcast. So this week, I actually have a guest with me. You've seen this guest before. I should say you've heard this guest before. It is Sam Johnson, who is my husband and also my copywriter. And so I've got Sam on because this week we're actually both in Malta, as you're listening to this, renewing our wedding vows. So we got talking, Sam and I, about the fact that he's basically planned the whole wedding. Wedding vow renewal.
Ironically, after giving up a job as a wedding planner a few years ago because of how irritating it was.
He's now planned the wedding. And it got us talking about how it's really important in all your relationships. Like if you work together as partners, which we do in business and in life, and even if you have relationships with other people in your business and in your life, it's really important that you do your zone of genius. You don't feel like you have to do all of the things. And sometimes that's really hard to let go. So I'm a bit of a control freak. And
you think?
A bit,
yeah.
A bit of a control freak.
Yeah. Carry on.
And so when it came to like, okay, we're going to do this vow renewal, we were actually supposed to do it every 5 years. So it would have been 2 years ago. And then COVID hit. And so we had more time then. My life is a bit different now. And so now we're doing it in the 7-year anniversary instead. So when it came to it, I was like, can we actually do this? Have we got the time to plan this? And Sam said, well, I'll just do it. Just leave it to me.
Well, we did employ the services of a really good wedding planner.
We also have a wedding planner.
Yeah.
But obviously, even when you have a wedding planner, there's still a lot of work that has to be like decisions that have to be made and that kind of thing. And with decisions, I need to look at everything and make a choice. And so I didn't have time to do any of those things. And so they were given to Sam to do. How have you found it?
It's all right, actually. I've quite enjoyed it. There is more to it than I thought there would be. I quite like that you're not hovering up behind me in your Boss hover shoes.
What do you mean?
You know, that Boss hover shoes that they all wear where they suddenly appear at your shoulder while you're doing something.
Do I do that to you?
Yeah, you do that to me. You usually do it when I'm making my second cup of tea and you feel that that's way too many.
It is too many.
But going back to what you said, it is fun. There are elements of it where I'm grateful for the wedding planner because we say we want white flowers and she offers us the choice of 15 different types of white flowers. So I then say to her, we want white flowers. And so she goes away and chooses some pretty white flowers that I have no idea what they are. But there's other things. I mean, I'm quite artistic, as you know, I'm quite creative. So the whole design element of it, I've really enjoyed. But the intricacies of it would have bored you rotten within 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like that's why it's another way to show what we're saying is true. Like Andrea, who is our wedding planner, who has been amazing, she knows the detail stuff. So when we do say about white flowers, she knows all the different flowers. I was so impressed. Like I just, even when I was a wedding planner, people would go, "Oh, we want these kind of flowers," and I'd be like, "Which colour?" Like I don't know the names of all of the flowers.
You bring in the people who have the skills to do the things that you don't have the skills to do, don't you? And that means then you apply your skill set to the things you're really good at.
I think that's the same in business, but we often think we have to do everything. Like when we first start in business, you're the marketing person, you're the tech person, you're the copywriter, you're the designer, you're the salesperson. And I think sometimes what we do is we hold back from actually employing the people that are much better at that than us because we think they won't be as good, but that's ridiculous because of course they're going to be better. That's their job.
There's two sides to that. One is when it's your baby, you feel it's your baby and you want to do it all, and letting go of any of it is the challenge, right? And everyone that grows a business goes through that tipping point where they have to let some go. You did it not that long ago.
Yeah.
So there is that. But the second thing is, it's always remember, and you teach this a lot, is that you can't be good at everything. And trying to do stuff you're not good at is false economy, because you won't do it well. And you will also be spending your time doing that when you could be doing the stuff you're really good at and growing your business.
Yeah, I think that is important. And at the beginning, I found it really hard to give stuff away because I did think, I know how to do it. I've been doing it this way for ages. But actually, the other thing is sometimes the way you do it isn't actually the best way. You just think it is because it's the way you've been doing it forever. I remember the first time I tried to do a sales funnel, and I don't love the tech even now, but I always say, like, try something once, like do it yourself once so that you know what you're paying other people to do. And so I was like, right, I'm going to do my own sales funnel. And it took me days, like probably over a week, to properly get the whole thing done because I was learning as I was going along. And then the second time I gave it to a tech VA and it was done in an hour. Yeah. And I felt so stupid that I'd wasted all that time when I could have just paid somebody to do it in an hour. And often we think, well, we don't want to give money away. And at the beginning, there is an element of you have more time than money. So you should be doing some of the things yourself. But the economical reasoning isn't always right, because when I gave my tech VA that to do, that saved me probably around 6 days, 7 days. In 6-7 days, I can write an entire program.
I think you're right that at the beginning, it stands to reason. When you're starting off, you will have to take on these tasks. But I think what you need to do is learn by doing them, because you might not know at the beginning, and then you learn, I've got a natural affinity for the tech stuff, or do you know what, I'm quite good at writing, I hadn't realized that. And then you guide yourself towards those things. But you will reach that tipping point where you ain't going to be able to do it all, and you ain't going to be able to do it all really well.
Yeah.
So it makes perfect sense. Like you, I wouldn't ask you to cook me a roast dinner.
Well, that would be pointless.
Well, that would be interesting for the fire services in the neighbourhood, wouldn't it? But I would never ask you to do it because I know you're not very good at it.
What else am I not? Would you ever ask me to park a car?
Park the car, cook the dinner, anything remotely sporty, like catch a ball.
I can catch a ball, I reckon.
They're the three at the top. They're the 3 times in life when I can.
But can you imagine if I said to you, can you pay all the bills this month?
No. This is my point. And I think we are quite interested with that because we don't do the traditional male, female, if you want to call them that, job split.
No.
Very much the opposite, in fact.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this right, and I'm glad we don't, because I think this needs kicking up the backside anyway, because it shouldn't be the go-to way to do things. But I do all the cooking. I do most of the kids' stuff. I do most of the school stuff.
Yeah, you do.
I do the washing. I do all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. When it comes to working out, like whether we're having a mortgage or what we're investing in or any of that, you wouldn't really have a clue.
2 examples that show what we're talking about. The one, I think we've spoken about this before, is that people will always come up to me if we're looking to buy something as a couple.
Yeah.
So a house, a car, even stuff for the house. People will automatically gravitate to me and ask me the questions about the money spent. I get great joy by telling them that I work for you and they need to talk to you.
Yeah, it was really funny, actually. We've been looking at houses recently, and this one guy took us round, and these are multi-million-pound houses. And so the guy that took us round was talking to Sam the entire time. And then we were in the garden of one of the properties, and I said, oh, we need to make sure, it would be really good if we could turn this into a retreat space, some kind of offices with a retreat space. And he said to me, oh, is that like a charitable thing? Do you do like a retreat for charity? And I was like, no, it makes me quite a lot of money. And he just didn't know. He just didn't really understand. It was like...
Interestingly, he was only a young bloke as well.
Yeah.
So you would kind of hoped the next generation coming through had binned off this ridiculous kind of patriarchal assumptions that they have. But it appears not in certain, especially in certain sectors.
Yeah, it does annoy me still when people do stuff like that, because then I'm like, oh, so the whole time you've been walking around thinking like you're trying to impress Sam so that Sam wants whatever it is you're selling.
Because I'm in my really dodge Glee t-shirt and crappy shorts and trainers, and you're dressed in really nice clothes with a really posh handbag, but still,
they still go to you.
Still assume it's me. And the other thing that I was going to mention is another representation of that is the school thing, because and the WhatsApp group of parents, I say parents, it's mums, it was mums and me. And they were so backhandedly patronising to me. Like when I was in the group, they were like, oh, well, aren't you great? Aren't you great for doing this for the boys?
What, like taking your children
you
to school?
actually get them to school on time and you know how to put a sandwich in a lunchbox. Whereas if it had been, they wouldn't say that to any of the mums that were doing this.
No.
Yet still it was seen as this kind of, I was their little pet dad that they could all pat on the back of the head and say, well done you, and have a sweetie.
I don't get involved. I haven't met any of them, have I?
I don't get involved that much, to be fair. I try not to. But yeah, that's another example of how these perceptions are still very much maintained today.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be the way it is, but we know it is. And I think sometimes in business, we have to think, like, we've definitely, Zoe and I have been interviewing people recently, and we've been looking outside the box a little bit for who we're looking at, because often we look for the traditional role of someone. So when we look for either a virtual assistant, people generally think that's going to be a woman, and think that they're going to have worked as a PA before in a corporate world. When we're looking for tech people, it can be the other way around, like people to build an app. And actually that hasn't been the case for us. It's been really different. And often we've found people with really good skills for what we need that aren't the thing that we're looking for. So for instance, we might find a Facebook ads person to do our Facebook ads. That's not what they do, but they're good at it. But, just because somebody has done something for a long period of time doesn't always make them the best at it. Skills are transferable. And I think we should always keep an open mind on that. The other thing I wanted to talk about, so obviously we've gone through the whole, make sure you are doing your zone of genius thing. I think it's really important. I've really enjoyed not planning this wedding. I've really enjoyed that somebody else is doing it. I know it's going to be done well because there's 2 people on it with Sam and Andrew, the wedding planner. So it's been lovely to take it off my hands. And the second thing I wanted to talk about to do with the wedding is I see a lot of people chasing success. And this happens daily. I've been talking about it to my masterminders recently. People thinking they know what success is, when actually it's an idea of success that has been projected onto them through social media. So success being hitting 7 figures, for example, making a certain amount of money, this 10K months thing that everybody always says, or 20K months per month. The success of being known for what you do and other people telling you that you are successful for what you do. Now, Sam's been with me, the whole time since we were £30,000 in debt to now, in the last 5 years. Would you say that our version of success is more money?
I think the question is the equation between success and happiness. And I think people sometimes get the two confused. There is an element of success will lead to happiness. But what we've come to realise, I think, is we didn't have anything at the beginning. And then you've built up this business to give us what would be perceived as traditionally successful achievements, nice holidays, that kind of thing. Do we feel any different about ourselves and our happiness? No, we genuinely don't. And I know people say this, we go, oh yeah, but you've got a nice house, blah, blah. Genuinely, we don't. What makes us happiest?
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. Like, where is the joy? Like, where is the contentment in life? Is it when we hit 2.5 million on a launch? No, that's fleeting. And for about 5 minutes, we're really excited and then we move on. The thing that it actually is the tiny things, the simplest things in life. So every evening between when the boys are in bed, the twins are in bed at 9 o'clock, we are able to watch something for an hour. And we have our programs that we get excited about when they come back on, like This Is Us. And
it's almost like when you were kids now and something was on a certain time of day, on a certain day of the week, and we used to get so excited and get to the telly. I feel like that, and This Is Us just coming to an end. I feel like bereft.
So do I.
That it's going to be gone. I can't talk about it. I'll start welling up. But honestly, it's just, that's an example. You find something, and that time together, doing nothing with a cup of tea or a little glass of whiskey for me, and you're sitting on the sofa, is that success? because that's happiness to me.
Well, I think success is happiness. It's the same as when we go on holiday. People see like the highlights bit that we show, like on the Orient Express, and we're in these amazing 5-star hotels. And actually, we were both saying the other day, the bit on holiday that we love the most is when we find a little square that no one knows about, and we've got, you know, half a jug of really rubbish £2.50 Prosecco or Cava, and we're just sitting there for a whole afternoon just chatting. That they are the best times of our holidays, and that's not to do with money. Like, you can do all of those things that we find that we love, like wandering around London doing nothing for a day when it's sunny. That's one of our favorite things to do, just wander about to see where it takes us without going anywhere. All of the things that we've found to be the best things in life have got nothing to do with success or money.
I think it would be naive to say that it doesn't help you.
Of course it does.
And it takes some weight off shoulders at times, but then it adds weight because that needs to be maintained. Once you reach that level, that needs to be maintained. But I think there's a danger that in the world, especially the world on social media and the world that is perceived to be the world we all need to aspire to, that's what it's all about. Get the money, get more money, get more money. And we've all seen how that can turn out for lots of people.
Yeah, it's not the way. I thought it was for a while. Like when I first started, I was very much like, well, if we make this much money, we'll be happy. And if we make this, then we won't have any financial worries and we'll be happy. You know, yes, you might not have financial worries, although actually, I think there's always a bit of a financial worry, however much money you've got, because then you live to a different standard and you worry, like, for instance, if you send the kids to private school, you worry that if you stop doing something and you don't want to do something anymore and you want to let a business go, for example, or something like that, then you might not have the money for them to be able to do that anymore. So I don't think it ever really stops.
It doesn't stop. Worry. And I think that the goal we all should have, and that sometimes it's tough, is to never stop appreciating those little things that truly make you happy, that truly bring you joy. You know, spending a bit of time with the boys. I went down to Cornwall, Lisa didn't come, and I stayed in a little, fairly basic
shack.
Not a shack.
Yes,
it was a holiday let. Looking out over the sea. I went with my brother-in-law, Jesse, and just for 3 nights. And we didn't really do much. We walked around a bit. We drank some beer. We, went to the pub. And it was just, there was no relationship to having money in that happiness that came about from doing something simple. And I think those simple things are sometimes easy to forget that they are there.
Especially when you've got money, I think, because you're chasing a thrill all the time, and that's not healthy. Like constantly chasing the next big thing. Like I suppose this takes us all the way round back to the wedding, which we're hopefully at now. Nothing has gone wrong.
It's all smooth, perfectly planned and organised.
Good. When we had the wedding 7 years ago, we had no money and we really wanted to get married and we had nothing. And so we did it ourselves. It was like a very, very budget wedding. It's just a few £1,000s, and we'd saved up for that. And we had an amazing wedding. Like it was amazing. I wouldn't change a thing about it. And it's so weird this time being able to go and do it in the exact same place, but not have to worry about the budget and how much it costs, and have people, like last time you set the whole thing up all day.
My best man and I got there early in the morning. The wedding wasn't until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we spent the whole day in very hot weather, let me tell you, hanging up lanterns, putting up signs, putting things on tables, sorting out favours.
It's a bit different this time.
It is a bit different this time, and it's going to be fantastic. But I suppose what underlies that and what we keep returning to is, will it be more memorable? Will it be more special?
No.
It won't, will it?
No, because the same people will be there. It's about the people.
It's the people, and it's the message, and it's the reason behind why you're doing it. And we could do that in a pub with the same people, spending nothing, and the whole ethos and the whole atmosphere would stay the same.
Yeah, because all we're doing really is we just wanted to celebrate that we found each other, and that's what we were doing every 5 years.
And it wouldn't look as pretty.
No.
Hopefully it's going to look pretty. Otherwise, Andrew, I'm coming for you.
It's really interesting because obviously when I got my first engagement ring, when neither of us had any money, it was, it was a probably around, I don't even know exactly, but I'd say
it was a big outlay for me at the time. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it was probably around 100-ish pounds.
I think it was between 100 and 200 quid, which was a massive amount of money for me to spend on one thing.
And it was beautiful. Like, it looks like a vintage ring. I absolutely love it. And this time people have said to me, because some people know, like my friends know that it was, it's not like a really expensive ring. And people kept saying to me, you're going to get a new one. Like, you could get like a £10,000 beautiful ring now. I'm like, what this ring shows is so important, and I will never change it, because it shows that there's a lot of people that I don't trust these days, because I don't know whether they're my friend or they like me for what I can do for them, whether that's in business or money-wise, what I can do for them. And this ring is like the absolute show of, that's not you.
It's a real representation of us. If you think about it, the ring was not a lot of money, but we loved it, and it looks great, and it represents the journey we've had. So why would you ever want to change that? I think it's a huge relevance and resonance of us and our journey.
Yeah, and who we are. And I love it, and I'll always love it. And I get it cleaned every now and again, but I'll never put a new one on. So yeah, I suppose the message of this podcast is to remember what you're doing everything for, and don't get so wrapped up in the, you need to have this, and what's the next big goal, and what's the next level of success. Have a real think about what success means to you and what happiness means to you, and whether they're tied in or not. And then when you know what happiness really is for you, just do that every day. And, that's all there is to it, really. It's no more complicated than that. But it's easy to get wrapped up in this online world of what you should want and what there is there. And it doesn't need to be that way. Like, we can take ourselves out of that and decide what real life happiness is, and it's often really different. I will see you next week for the next podcast episode. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, I'd love you to review it. We've got some reviews already. You can go have a little read of them on iTunes. I'd love you to add your own review in. It's always nice to see what people think of the podcast, and share it as well, so that other people get to listen to our stories and the things that are happening in business as well. And thank you for being here, Sam, for this episode.
I quite enjoyed it. Thanks very much.
I'll speak to you later.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Making Money Online with Lisa Johnson. If you'd like to get hold of my guide to launching, go to lisajohnson.com/launch, and let's get you making money online.